They say that only God can make a tree. Well, warm up your clerics, because we're crafting. We'll start with some half-inch wooden dowels. Okay, so I cut them with the power tool, but if you buy them at the hardware store, you can probably get someone there to cut it down for you as well. All the lengths are between 4 and 6 inches. I'm going to use my homemade emery board and sand off any of the rough areas on the edges that were cut. These are going to be our tree trunks. Using my emery board again, I'm going to rough up the sides of a 1-inch fender washer. This will give the glue something to grab onto. I'm gluing this between the dowel and its base to give it more weight towards the bottom so the trees are less likely to topple over. To glue everything together, I chose Gorilla White glue, mainly because it's strong and it says it'll stick to metal. I should warn you, Gorilla White glue is not normal PVA glue. It foams up. This gives it an excellent bond, but it wasn't something I was counting on. I ended up having to mind all the dowels as the foaming made them drift. Also, when it foamed up, the foam didn't collapse down. But that's a happy accident. It's going to help us sell that this tree is actually planted in the environment by getting rid of that hard 90-degree angle at the base of the trunk where it meets the ground. For the leaf canopies, I'm just going to go simple. I'm going to make them out of Styrofoam craft shapes that I picked up from my local craft store. The cone-shaped trees are great because they've got a flat top, meaning a mini can stand on it. Using this half-inch PVC coupler, I'm going to core out a section of the Styrofoam for the tree trunk to slide into. These are going to be horribly unrealistic trees. If you would like to make more realistic trees, there are hundreds of YouTube content creators out there to show you how. Once cored, I coat the entire thing in Mod Podge. This will help fill in all those nooks and crannies in the Styrofoam. Also, it'll give the tree a lot of strength. The Mod Podge did strengthen them, but didn't really fill in the holes. So I covered them in spackle. It's relatively cheap and easy to find. All you need is a wet finger to smooth it down. Make sure you put it on thinly. If you put it on too thick, your tree's going to be very top heavy. And once the spackle cures, I go over them with some light sandpaper. I base coat all the tree forms in hunter green, except for the small egg, which I base coat in burnt umber. Back to the tree trunks. Do you see what I mean about it foaming up? But it actually looks natural, so we'll keep it. For the tree trunks themselves, I'm going to base them in brown. Then we'll follow that up with a wet blend of brown and golden brown. Instead of going up and down with my brush strokes, I'm going to go horizontally. One of these trees is not going to look like the rest. I base coated it in deep gray, and I'm going to wet blend it with tan. This is going to be the egg-shaped tree. Using brown again, I'm going to add some knots, or bumps, to the sides of the brown trees. It's just one more thing to take an ordinary boring trunk and add a little visual interest. I add similar marks in deep gray to the gray tree, but instead of dots or bumps, they're more like slashes. I highlight the bumps on the brown tree with golden brown, and I highlight the bumps on the gray tree with tan. I did paint up the base of these trees, but just so you know, I'm probably going to change it once I do the grass tiles. I base the bases with grass green, of course. And once the tree trunks are dry, I'm going to go ahead and glue them into the canopies. Starting with the egg-shaped tree, I'm going to paint on some blobs in Burgundy paint. These blobs are going to sit more vertical on the tree than horizontal. With a 50-50 mix of Burgundy and deep coral, I break up the big blobs into smaller blobs. Then, using just deep coral, I add in the highlights, starting at the top. For this tree, I'm going to break it up into smaller blobs using apple tart. And then I break up those blobs with a 50-50 combo of apple tart and bright yellow. And a final highlight 50-50 mix of bright yellow and celery. The paint colors celery, but you know what I mean. Time to break up the fir tree into blobs. While the red tree had vertical blobs, and the mushroom-shaped tree had blobs that just kind of went all over the place, I'm going to make the fir tree blobs more horizontal. And I start breaking up those blobs with Spanish olive. And a final highlight with Spanish olive and bright yellow mixed, 1-to-1. And all the trees get finished off with a coat of gloss Mod Podge, followed by a coat of matte Mod Podge. If you wonder why I do it that way, look in the previous videos. The street tiles explains it best. And there we are, the beginning of your own forest. In fact, every single one of these shapes could be used as a mushroom if you wanted, say, a fungal forest. Do I have regrets on this project? Sure, maybe one. I wish they had a bigger egg. Whack. Thanks for joining me on today's project. If you would like to support my channel, I've started a Patreon account. If you would like to see previews of my upcoming projects, join us at the Tabletop Crafters Guild on Facebook. All the links are below in the description. And don't forget to like and subscribe.